speak about practice. It is very common today to listen from various teachers or practitioners that practice is a problem, that practice prevents us from experiencing our true nature. Is this true? Is practice a problem? Nonsense. Of course, it is not a problem. The problem is our conditioned mind, and more specifically, our lower, rajasic, tamasic, egoic self, or simply the ego. This is the problem. This is what prevents us from experiencing fully here and now our divine essence. That means peace, to experience peace here and now, peace, plenitude, fullness, and freedom. The obstacle and the veil is the egoic self, or simply the ego. What is the ego? Energy, a psychic, vital psychic field of energy. And this energy, like a cloud or like fog, obscures our perception and creates also suffering. So practice means to dissolve the ego. First of all, to realize what is the ego, to stop identifying with the ego, and eliminate the ego. And also, practice means to use specific means to connect with the inner silence, which is how we experience. It is the how we experience our true nature. It is silence, stillness, peace, and bliss. So, without practice, how we can do this? Just, there are some teachers, I don't want to say their names. Just be still and be what you are. Just words. Okay, if we can remain still, we can experience silence and peace to some degree, but we cannot remain in this state. To remain momentary in this state, it is something, but it is nothing at the same time. So what we need is to remain firm in this awareness of peace and bliss. And this cannot happen by just be, because we cannot be, because our mind is so much conditioned and programmed and full of passions and tendencies that cannot remain calm. Because the problem is not at the level of thinking mind, the problem is at the level of vital emotional mind, vital being, emotional mind, or emotional being, as you like. This is the problem. What they call this lower ego or lower field of energy as kama manas. What Theosophist Blavatsky, if I remember well, said that this lower field of energy is called kama manas. So this is the problem. And kama manas is an energy field which automatically manifests itself as lujuria, lust, lujuria in Spanish, lust, greed, gluttony, anger, fear, avarice, whatever may be. So our mind cannot remain still, just be. Okay, one can say, okay, you can try, and little by little this will increase this state of being. No, it's not like this. You have to reach a state of purity of mind and heart so that you can practice this. And this is something that also Ramana Maharshi have said, once at least, that this self-enquiry that Ramana Maharshi suggests is only for people, for aspirants, who have already acquired or achieved a pure sattvic mind and have developed greatly the sattvic qualities as devotion, such as devotion and discrimination or discernment, and also dispassion, detachment, concentration, acceptance, patience, resilience, forbearance, faith, trust to the life and God consciousness, then you can just be. But until then, it's not possible. Of course, you can try it many times to have experience, but you need to follow a very systematic, regular practice, which can include devotional practices, worship, chanting of mantras, repetition of affirmation, prayers, and self-enquiry, and specific practice for elimination of the egoic energy, etc., etc. And at the same time, to practice meditation and stillness. So you say, one can say, stillness, how to practice stillness? Stillness is already here. Yes, stillness of the mind. You have to practice the stillness of the mind. The stillness of our true nature is always here. And say something, okay, you can experience it. Since it's here, why don't you experience this stillness? You can experience it to some degree, but you cannot remain there. And you cannot experience it fully and plenty. Superficially is not enough. And in order to succeed in this effort to be, we have to practice purifying practices, a karma yoga as well, to selfless service and offer our job, our work, our actions to divinity. And many other things. To live in isolation, to avoid the company of worldly people, to practice in the presence of great beings, etc., etc. So practice is a necessity. It's not something we have to think and decide if it is necessary or not. It's necessary without a doubt. Otherwise, we deceive ourselves. And the ego, in reality, ego deceives us, but because we are so identified with the ego, we deceive ourselves. So, there is no other way to reach this state of liberation than practice. What kind of practice? What is the best practice? This, that, it suits to you, resonates with you. This is the best practice. You can read also great teachers like Swami Sivananda, who is a very great teacher. What can be the practices? All great sages have been dedicated their lives and in practice, except modern people that want fast food, free realization. And why they speak always, why practice and what the necessity of practice if we are this peace and eternal freedom of the consciousness? Because our mind is diluted, that's why. And who resists the practice? The ego. Why resist the practice? Because ego doesn't want to die. So simple. And the argument that through practice the ego becomes stronger, it's nonsense as well. Practice eliminates the ego. Of course, in the first years, people, they don't they are not capable to practice effectively and efficiently. So they continue their life in spiritual life through the ego. It's not that the practice have strengthened the ego. It is because already they had ego. And they continue living from the perspective of the ego, although they are engaged in practice. So the practice is not responsible for the ego. And what is the factor? Who is the one that has doubts about practice and problems with practice? The ego. It's so simple. But people are so identified or are so ignorant, and they present an idea as the highest truth, while in reality it's just a lie. It's just a lie of the ego itself. It's just a delusion. We have to learn also to do practice effectively, not mechanically. But even in the beginning, mechanical practice is necessary. What I say is my experience. There is no doubt about what I say. I don't say things that I have imagined. It's a part of the practice to do also mechanical practice. But if you are really interested to get rid of all these obstacles, we will find what we need to do it, to make it, to achieve it. There is no doubt about this also. There is no other way except practice. If you want to liberate your mind from ego and suffering and pain and misery, if you don't do a practice, you will remain with your ego. No matter what you say, no matter what you believe, no matter what you, I don't know, you will remain slaves of the conditioned mind. So simple, so clear. So if you want to get rid of this and liberate your mind from the ego, you have to practice. There is no doubt about this. That's why so many teachers have said about practice. It's not, I'm not the only one. And there are great traditions, like the Christian tradition, for example, or the Hindu tradition, that suggests a variety of different of practices. And we have also modern techniques that function as well, that are very effective to eliminate the ego or to meditate or whatever. So, for one more time, who doubts the practice? The ego. Who doubts the practice? The ignorance. So it's better to listen to the ones that have passed through these stages of ignorance and ego, and they are free from this. So without practice, forget liberation. Just imagination. No practice, just matrix. I will conclude this live stream with this. Remember this. No practice, just matrix. You will continue living in the matrix of your mind. That's all. I wish you peace, love, and light. I wish you to understand what I say and practice regularly, systematically, and earnestly, and liberate your mind and heart from all kinds of tendencies, which are all expressions of the ego. And this ego is in fact the field of energy. It's not a thought, another delusion. Ego is just a thought. No, ego is not just a thought. If it was just a thought, it would be so easy to get rid of this thought, and we will become liberated in one moment. Ego is not just a thought. It's a field of energy. You have the right to disagree with me. It's okay. I love you, even though you may disagree with me. My love, I said you my love, my greetings, peace, love, and freedom to you.